Hello everybody and welcome back to another video here on my channel. Of course, another reading video. However, this video has a little bit of working out. I have done this video once in the past and it was right before we moved from Las Vegas. We were stationed out there. And then in the beginning of 2024, we happened to move. And I think in the beginning of 2024, if not at the end of 2023, I made a video of going to the gym on base and trying to read as much as possible. Just kind of trying to tackle my physical TBR while also getting in some steps. And I want to recreate that video because it popped up on my recommended for me. Even though it was my own video, it was one of those that YouTube recommended to me. So I kind of like clicked back, just kind of reminisced about what I did in that video, and I thought I did a really good job. Instead of going to a gym, I have a home gym in a way. We have an actual workout system for weights and stuff like that, and then we have a bike and a treadmill. And the treadmill is a little bit older, so you'll understand what I mean exactly when I show you guys some more clips. But I never made an intro to this video, so before I go on and describe this book and what I just read downstairs, I do want to come on here, do an intro, and just say basically we are walking to try and tackle more of my physical TBR, especially because it's my birthday next month and I want to go book shopping. And also we're trying to get more steps in because, you know, after having a kid, I need to lose some more weight again. I've also gained a lot of weight. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into today's video. I know I just took a shower. However, this is day one. It is Monday. We are starting, of course, with One of Us is Lying. I'm actually almost halfway through, or probably right now I'm about halfway through. I'm on page 150. I started around 140 this morning, so I've only read about 10 pages. But I'm gonna go downstairs, work out, probably for like an hour and a half to 2. I have 2 movies for my son on DVD. Joseph, Coat of Many Colors, and then also The Prince of Egypt. I have a double feature disc, so I figured I'd take that downstairs. He could watch that, and I can work out probably for the length of both of those movies, and I think both of them are around an hour and a half. My goal today is to sit and work on this, read as much as I can. Also, I would love to finish this book today. I will come back up here when I'm done working out and tell you how many pages I got to. Been using my phone anytime I'm down here. From now on, I'm just gonna use my phone because it's so hard to try and use my nice camera with the tripod and not necessarily run it over, knock it over, anything like that. However, movie number 2, this is actually The Prince of Egypt. I think I said Joseph, Coat of Many Colors. It is Joseph, King of Dreams. Prince of Egypt is in the projector, actually in the PlayStation up here, and I read about 50 pages. I'll kind of get and talk a little bit more later. I took, I think, like a 5-minute break just to finish up the movie so I could switch the movies, and now I'm going to continue reading. Hopefully with the bike I can read faster, because in the beginning of the treadmill it was really hard because I don't have a really wide treadmill. This is a different treadmill than the one that we had in Vegas. We sold that treadmill out in Vegas before moving, and we just picked this up for 20 bucks from an estate sale. So it's a little older, and also it's like I think it's 15 inches is what it says in width. So I have to be very careful and hold on, because if I step just right, I'm off of it. Since this movie is starting and it's getting really loud, I will actually update you guys later. And that probably ruined the book for me. 217 pages into it. Why do we gotta be like this? Especially with a more YA type book. Hello everybody, I want to do my first little update for the night. I do have to write these down specifically. I do have a little bit wrote down, but I kind of want to give a little update of what I did today. So as you guys know, I thought I started 140 this morning, but we're not really going to talk about that or count that. I think I started exactly on page 150, and that was right when I was getting ready to walk on the treadmill. However, my treadmill is, like I said, a little bit short, or like in width. It's not very wide. It's 15 inches, I do believe. In the first couple, probably 5 minutes, I was worried about where I was stepping, trying not to step off of it, and trying to walk straight, and I just kept getting distracted also by our son. I mean, I am a mom, so it is what it is. Throughout the hour and 3 minutes that I did read on the treadmill, I did tackle 50 pages. I made myself read for 50 pages exactly on the treadmill. It took me a lot longer than I was thinking it was going to take me, 50 pages, and it was an hour and 3 minutes. Also, I don't know which one to go by. I think I'm gonna go more by my watch. This treadmill being older, I feel like it's not necessarily accurate. I don't know if the treadmill would be less accurate than my watch. However, normally when I'd be on a treadmill that's newer, slower, my watch would be a little bit faster than what I'm actually walking or what the treadmill would say. And this, however, the treadmill is very fast compared to my watch. So my watch said for an hour and 3 minutes, I walked 2.14 miles, but the treadmill said 3.12. That's almost a whole mile difference. And also that's kind of slow for me. You can tell because I used to walk 3 miles in an hour, and that was just me with a stroller, not really focused and just walking around parks. So I walked a lot slower than I really wanted to, but I was a little bit distracted. I did tackle, thankfully, 50 pages. So that brought us all the way from 150 to 200. And then on the bike, I only sat on the bike for 35 minutes, which ended up being 7.49 miles, almost 7.5 miles. And we got to 32 pages. So 32 pages, 35 minutes. It was almost a minute a page, but I was a little bit distracted. And also there was a couple times I tried filming. However, I feel like that's a lot better. You could tell I wasn't worried about tripping, falling off. It was a lot easier to read. I did get to the point where I just didn't feel like I wanted to read all of a sudden. I think because I got to that little halfway point of this book that kind of changed my opinion. And that's the other thing I want to lead into. So in total so far today, we read 82 pages, which honestly is not bad. Of course, I'm going to do a whole overview at the end of this video to go day by day what I did while walking, and we could even do like the miles that I walked and also potentially biked. So I kind of want to go over a little bit of thoughts that I have for this book. So this is one of those books that has sat on my shelf for I don't know how many years. It's been at least like 3 years or more, and it's one of those that I just never cared to read. I had another book by her and it was a standalone, and I actually thrifted that and then turned around a couple years later and got rid of it. And I think I got rid of it last year for my birthday. Well, my birthday's coming up, and one thing I told myself is for my birthday, if I haven't read this book by then, I would love to just kind of get rid of it, just be done with it. I'm getting to that point where I'm just like, it's sat on my shelf long enough. Well, I decided to put it on a TBR. I also decided now would be the time to read it. So I did pick it up, and I'm not gonna lie, I am judging it a little bit because it's sat and I just didn't care about it. But going into it, I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. It's not as bad as I thought. Keep that in mind. It's okay. It was like 3 stars. It's still giving me 3-ish star vibes, but I get to the point and I get to something that I really just don't care about. I think down in the basement I said the exact page count. I think it's like 215 or so. And it's one of those that I feel like authors have a really bad problem, and I don't know if it's just them trying to kind of be like, you know, like a suck up in a way, or they're trying to get brownie points from people, or if they're more on the scale of I'm afraid to get canceled. Me, however, I don't really care because I make videos more for me than anybody. But one thing that I really do not like with a lot of books, especially a lot of YA books I've noticed, is the fact that there are certain things that people try like forcing, and I'm gonna say forcing down our throats. I do not care what anybody says. Me as a Christian, this is how I feel. I feel like there's certain things that are always try to be like forced down our throats, or just people cannot just write a simple book and have it YA without including these things that technically I think younger kids maybe shouldn't know about. Now granted, young adult is young adult, and as you get older you can still read young adult as like a 20-year-old. That's a little bit different, I get it, but there are some things that I think just are constantly placed in books, and it's almost amazing how some authors cannot, and I'm not saying she's one, I'm just saying there are some authors that just cannot not write about certain things. They always have to put it in books, and I'm getting really tired of reading books and having specific things that as a Christian I just don't agree with. I get it, not everybody's Christian. I'm not saying that. It's just my personal opinion on how I feel. So because I'm reading stuff that I don't enjoy, again, I feel like it's dropping my rating. Like I just don't care about this book, and especially since it's sat on my shelf, I think it's getting worse. And I hate to say that because we're getting more and more closer to the end. Instead of picking up, I feel like I'm getting deterred, or I'm not enjoying it as much. Which, like I said, that is my personal opinion. If you are the complete opposite and you enjoy reading about certain things, then that's on you. It is what it is. But for me personally, I just don't enjoy that, and it really annoys me. And I'm not going to technically elaborate. I feel like if you know about this book, if you kind of go around the page, then you can kind of guess what I'm talking about, especially because I said I was Christian. There are some things that I refuse to put on my social media, cuss words and certain topics. It is not the place. Social media is not really the place. You should probably be private about a lot of things. Though I just don't know also if I'm really invested into this book, because it's like, okay, I like the idea, the concept, almost like the Breakfast Club thing where they're all in like detention, and then in a way somebody goes missing or somebody ends up dead, and then we have to figure out which one's not lying, which one actually did all this, which one is lying, who's the killer, who's this. And there are a lot of different people, and I like how everybody has like like secrets, but at the same time, I feel like if I was really young, maybe I would have really enjoyed this. I don't know. It's just not hitting the right spot, and maybe it's because my reading taste has changed so much since I first picked it up, and that's one reason I'm tired of letting books sit so long on my shelf, because I feel like there are times where I would have loved this so many years ago, but because I waited so long and I read it now, I don't think I would have enjoyed it. So I don't know how I feel. I am glad that we've read so many pages today. I'm excited for tomorrow. I might try and finish this book today because I would love to get through, like I said, my TBR, but I'm not 100% positive if I will get through it. So this might be in tomorrow's little video. I'm just glad that we at least read almost 100 pages already. I am 10 pages shy from reading 100 pages already today, and it's only about 1 p.m. So we're not doing too bad, but I just wanted to give a little update and also tell you my thoughts on this book, how many miles I walked and how long, and how many pages I did tackle. Hello everybody, it is Tuesday. It is day 2 of my trying to go downstairs. Yesterday, as you guys know, I think I was around 230 something pages out of 358, I do believe, of One of Us is Lying. I did happen to finish that book. I used an audiobook, and I think I listened to either an hour and a half or 2 hours. I was cleaning, doing the dishes, doing a bunch of stuff around the house. So I did listen to the audiobook because I just went to the library, got my library card, which I had one when I was growing up in Indiana. I had multiple, and then also when we were stationed out in Wisconsin, I had one in Madison, Wisconsin. However, I never got one out when we were stationed in Las Vegas, and none of my cards, any of the library cards that I had, I guess they expired, and I never renewed them because I would never connect to Libby. Well, I just recently went to the library on Friday, picked up a library card for my son and I connected it to Libby. So I had an audiobook on there where I could actually listen to it and turn off my phone. It was so amazing. So I did clean the house, listen to that audiobook, like I said, for I think an hour and a half to 2 hours. I tackled, I think, about 70 pages with the audiobook, and it was also on like 1.25 speed. It got to the point where I had only about 30 pages left of the book, and I did finish it last night. I made myself finish it, and I'm not gonna talk too much about that book in particular because this is more of an experiment in a way of like, hey, let's walk, let's get our steps in, maybe lose some weight, but also let's tackle some of our physical TBR. I did put on Fable what my whole review was, and also on Goodreads, so both of those are linked down in the description if you want to follow me, or just even click on those links and see what I wrote. I did rate it 2.5 stars. Like I said, I went in more detail on my review. That's all I'm really going to say about that book. Today, since thankfully I do not have to read One of Us is Lying, I'm going to start a complete new book, which is also a second book in a series that I absolutely love, an author that I love. If you've been to my channel and seen a few of my videos, you already know who I'm going to talk about because she's a Christian author. She has a subplot of romance in her books, but mainly she's a mystery author, and I'm talking about Colleen Cobble. This is book 2 in the Mercy Falls series, The Lightkeeper's Bride. I love The Lightkeeper's Daughter. It was so good. So I have not started this book. I'm literally on chapter 1. I'm so excited to get to this book and start it. And with the Libby app, I found out I don't think there's an audiobook for this, probably because it's not necessarily well known, and also I think they have like a limited selection, but they have this book on the Libby app that I can also maybe digitally read. So I might test that out down in the basement. I don't know. I don't mind holding this book, especially because it's so thin. And with that also being said, my husband is supposed to be, because it's 4:02, technically getting off work and on his way home. However, he has not been off work at the time he was supposed to be. He's been doing a lot of overtime. They've been making him do a lot of overtime, which is okay in a way. I have no clue when he's going to get home. We do have practice for our Sun leaders, so I don't want to sit and work out for like 2 hours. I probably just might do around an hour, maybe 30 minutes on the treadmill, 30 minutes on the bike. Everything's better than not doing nothing at all, and that is the good motto for today. Let me go change my clothes, go get ready to go downstairs, and also start The Lightkeeper's Bride. I have been using my phone to read, and I'm almost about 20 minutes, oh no, I am 20 minutes in and about a mile in, but my husband just called me. So he sat on the phone for 11 minutes talking. So I know that the treadmill, I'm not gonna get as many pages in, especially since I'm taking time away to kind of talk to you guys. My phone quality is so bad, especially with this light right behind us on the other side of the projector. I walked for 30 minutes, basically did 1.5, I think it was 1.49 miles on my watch. I think it was like 1.96 on the treadmill. I'll have to double check. I have it all recorded, but I just wanted to do a little quick thing so I know where I stopped at. I read on my phone for the treadmill, and I only made it to page 12, but I guess if you subtract 11 minutes, it's not that much slower. And my son came down here and joined me. So this is a realistic thing of not going to an actual actual gym and being by yourself, but being in a home gym and having a little kid and also potentially your husband calling you, or just life things in general. It's more realistic side of how much you can get distracted and trying to stay on track. I guess that's gonna be a message that I can send out in this video is try not to get distracted and try and stay on track. However, now I'm gonna go sit on the bike for 30 minutes because I think about 32 to 35-ish minutes my husband should be home. We're just gonna do like some pizza pockets and pizza bagels because that's something that he kind of requested, and I said okay, that is fine by me. That is easy to throw in the oven. Alright everybody, I want to do a little update on what I read down in the basement. I kind of talked to you potentially if I inserted that clip actually into this video, but I kind of talked to you down in the basement. While I was on the treadmill, my husband called for 11 minutes of the 30 minutes that I was on the treadmill for. On the treadmill, my watch said for 30 minutes I walked 1.42 miles. However, the treadmill itself said 1.96 miles, and we only got, because my husband called, 12 pages into The Lightkeeper's Bride. Going onto the bike for 30 minutes, I biked 7.29 miles, and we went from page 12 to page 34, which is 22 pages, so a little bit slower, but it is what it is. I also decided instead of reading this or the physical copy on the bike, I was going to read off of Libby on my phone, and I think I'm a little slower reading on Libby. I just have a hard time in a way when I look away and then looking back at my phone to kind of have my eyes follow where I was at. There was a couple times where I would lose track of exactly where I was at and I would just reread the entire page that I was on, but it is nice because you're swiping very fast. So it's more of that achievement because it feels like you're reading. I think it said I was on page 50, even though at the time we were only on page probably 20 or so. So I was swiping a lot faster, probably double what I would have been turning in the book, which was a good achievement, but at the same time, it just didn't equate to the same amount, which is kind of sad, but that's okay. I feel like for 34 pages today, it's not too much while working out, but we only worked out for an hour, which also is not that good either, if I think about that. Day 3 of this challenge, it is Wednesday. I have plans to be walking a lot longer and also trying to be on the bike a lot longer than I have been. I have plans for an hour on each of those. At least I'd say 2.5 miles for the treadmill from my watch. I'm looking rough. I also feel like I didn't get enough sleep, but it is what it is. I'm gonna try and get a better workout in today. I might read the whole time, but I also want to catch up on some YouTube videos, so I don't think I'm gonna be reading the entire time. Yesterday I did read just a little bit, but not too much. So we are starting on page 52, 53, not too much farther into it. I think it was like 34 when I left off. I'm enjoying this book. Again, Colleen Cobble, you can't go wrong with her, or at least I can't go wrong with her. Her Christian values, the things that she puts in here about the Lord is just so beautiful, so amazing. So I'm enjoying this book a lot. I think that helps. I'm going to go downstairs and tackle a very long, potentially 2-hour workout, and I will come back up here after my shower and let you guys know how much I walk, how much I bike, and how much I also read. Hello everybody, I want to update for what I did down in the basement. I did walk on the treadmill for an hour, and that equated to 2.24 miles. In that hour, I only read my book. I did not watch YouTube at all. I did use the Libby app, and we started on page 52, and I read all the way until 94, which in turn was 42 pages. That's all I tackled downstairs. I decided afterwards, instead of hopping on the bike, I was going to work out, use the weights, lift weights a little bit. So I decided to watch YouTube then and probably sit for 30 minutes or so and worked out that way. So I didn't get on the bike, but I think for walking over 2 miles, almost 2.5 miles, and walking for an hour straight, I think this was a really good. And like I said, we got a couple pages tackled. We are almost to page 100. I feel like I've slowed down a lot because I've been enjoying this book and I just don't want to rush through it. There were so many quotes that I was trying to screenshot and highlight on the Libby app so that when I go through my physical copy, because I haven't done it yet, I can highlight them and underline them. It wasn't a crazy day for working out, but I feel like it was pretty decent. And also the reading wasn't too bad, not necessarily the best, but not too bad either. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow and we'll see how far I am starting off into this book and then also how far I get. It is time I finally come and update you guys and end out this video. We were doing really good Monday through Thursday, going downstairs, walking on the treadmill, getting on the bike, and also reading and tackling some pages. However, Friday, I still worked out. Did I work out downstairs? No. Did I go somewhere else and not take my book because I didn't have an audiobook? Yes. Did I listen to music for a whole entire hour almost? almost, or like 50 minutes? Yes. And I also ran and walked, not ran a straight shot, but ran and walked 3 whole miles in 50 minutes, which is not that good if you were a runner, but if you're not a runner, that's really good, because the last time I did 3 miles, I was just over an hour. I think it was like close to an hour and 10 minutes. So I shaved at least 10, if not almost 20 minutes off of my time. And I ran more. I'd say I ran probably about a whole mile out of that 3 miles. So you know what, for me, not being a runner and just casually running and walking more than anything, I'm gonna call that a win. However, for this video, it kind of sucks because I was trying to do more of like working out and reading. I just didn't feel like going downstairs. I'm sorry. I felt lazy about that. I didn't want to go downstairs and work out. I just felt like changing up my scenery and also not having to worry about like focusing and trying to walk on that treadmill. I just really wanted to go out and enjoy the weather and the nature, and it was very hot, and then I got shin splits right after that, but that's okay. So we are going to go over, since I have everything written down, everything that I did, how many pages I read, and also the time. So just to recap, we had on Monday, I walked an hour and 3 minutes on the treadmill. I started on page 150 and read all the way to 200. Of course, that's 50 pages. And then I hopped onto the bike for 35 minutes. We started with that on page 200 and went to 232, so that was 32 pages. Then on Tuesday, I walked for 30 minutes on the treadmill. Technically, because my husband called me, 11 minutes of that 30 minutes. I read from page 0, because I started a new book, all the way to page 10. So only 12 pages. We hopped on the bike for 30 minutes and I read from 12 to 34, so that's about 22 pages. On Wednesday, I didn't hop on the bike at all, but I did for an hour walk on the treadmill, and I went from page 52 to 94, which was 42 pages. And finally, Thursday, I walked on the treadmill for 47 minutes, starting from page 102 and going all the way to 134. That was 32 pages, and then I hopped onto the bike for 45 minutes. That was from page 134 all the way to 172, which was 38 pages. I read a total of 228 pages, and I exercised, I'm gonna say, because I did more than just walking, for 5 hours and 10 minutes. And you know what? I'm gonna call that a win. I both got in my steps, and I also tackled some pages for some books that I needed to get off my physical TBR. This was a fun little video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you haven't seen part 1 of me doing this video, or the original video that I did this in, I would highly recommend you guys all check that one out. I don't know how this one is since I haven't started editing, but I just feel like I did that one so much better, and I was just doing other workouts and other things on that one too. I felt like it was a lot easier to read in that atmosphere, and also with how wide commercial treadmills are, or more so the treadmills that you have when you go to the actual gym. So I felt like if my treadmill would have been a lot wider, I would not have had to look down all the time, because I get a little swayy, but sometimes I'll just kind of go from side to side, and that one is just so little or so narrow. I don't really have much room for error, so I have to be very careful. And then of course, like I said, it's more realistic, but having a son down there, or a child just in general, kind of distracting you, asking you thousands and thousands of questions, and then a husband that called me too. I guess we can put him in there too. Either way, I had fun. I love this experiment. I might do it again in the future, just far from the future, not so much right now. All in all, I hope to see you in another video here on my channel, and as always, God bless.